I don't have the touch today. Good morning, everyone. This is Monday, and this is the alignment-based yoga class that I'm doing for the week. And I'd like to focus a little bit on core and low back, and any issues around back pain. Sciatica seems to be a big thing that I'm hearing about a lot lately, so we'll address some of that. A little bit of everything, kind of just to serve the whole body, but in particular what's going on with the low back. And sometimes it means strengthening some things, and sometimes it means resting. So we're going to start actually on hands and knees. What you'll probably need today, if you kneel, you might need a blanket under your knees. I'm going to suggest either blocks if you have them, or a chair, or whatever you can find. Someone was saying, who was talking about pots and pans, using pots and pans for blocks because of the height of them. You know what, get creative and do what you need to do. But come onto your hands and knees. And I said a little bit in the email to you about love and respect. So we're going to do some little loving and respecting of the low back. Set up your hands so we also support and love and respect the shoulders in a way that I'm going to say as wide as your shoulders, maybe a little bit wider. And then even tone through the sides of the wrist. I spend a little bit more time on that because I do feel it's important to take time to set things up. There's some love right there. Nothing in nature is rushed. So if we take our time, we go, okay, we are nature. And then you feel the support. And just for a moment, just pause, set up your legs in a way that they feel good. You feel you've got a real good alignment through your shoulders, through your hips. Maybe your legs are a little narrower, maybe a little further apart. Maybe your toes tuck, maybe they point back. And then just in this position, this table position, start to tone or start to notice your breathing. Where's your breath going when you breathe? Where's your weight in your hands? You can notice that too. And if you're feeling all of your weight moving into the outer wrist or outer palm, put a little bit more weight on the inner side through your index finger and thumb to balance that. So it means a little bit more action. Notice what your shoulders feel like. Notice what your low back feels like. This is probably one of the best, well, it is one of the best ways to offer no compression through the spine in a table pose. So we'll just stay here for another couple of breaths. Feeling your body moving as you breathe. Feel free to close your eyes. Notice what happens if you drop your head down. If you lift your head up. Now, someone was talking about neck and shoulder pain. What does your shoulder feel like? What does your neck feel like here? This is a great way to strengthen the muscles around the neck. That's a long time to hold table pose. I'm going to ask you to hold it for just another couple of breaths. And at any time you need to come out of a pose, come out of a pose. I'm just looking for the patterns of being that happen when you stay in a pose a little bit longer, and what your body goes into default, how it goes into default, or how you can notice that and add a little bit more action to be more balanced. You start to notice muscles are starting to work here a little bit more. I'm feeling a little bit of heat just doing this. And then start to push down and forward with your hands to shift your hips back. So as your hips go back, we can do one of two things. We can arch the back more, like a back bend, or you can do the opposite and start to round and open up through the low back. And I'm going to ask you to do the second one. You start to get some of the weight off the hands, same way when you were, different than when you were in table pose. And then we'll stay here for another couple of breaths. I say couple really loosely, you know that by now. Never mean a couple. So as the low back rounds, you can add to this an action of find where your tailbone is in space, and as if someone is pulling down on it towards the earth. Pull it down to tone through your low belly. This is not a big movement. I haven't moved very far back. I'm still got the rest of my spine in alignment. You can peek and see how I'm doing this. My head, I want to make sure my head's still in alignment with my spine. So we just notice the breath here again. Push maybe a little bit more into your fingerprints so you get a little bit lighter through the palm of the hand. I feel like I'm allowing my lower bottom ribs at the back to widen a little bit more here in this position. I'm getting a little bit of lengthening from the rib cage down to the top of my pelvis. And then use your hands not to push away, but this time to pull. So pull yourself forward as if you could only do it from pulling with your hands and come back to where we started. And then I'm going to invite you to go back and forth between the two using your breath in whatever way serves you. Exploring how far back do you go, how far forward do you go. Noticing the shift of weight in your hands from the front to the back to the back to the front, inner and outer edges. It's like hand yoga today. And then move yourself back into child's pose. And we're going to do the first child's pose with knees wide, big toes towards each other. So as you start shifting your hips back, pushing forward, look forward. So you're keeping the front of the body long as you shift your hips back. This is the spine staying long first. Once you get your hips back to where you are able to, and again, you can put a spacer behind your knee, you can put a roll in front of your ankle if that's where it's a bit of an issue. No, we don't want to go into any feelings of compression in any joints of the body. And then once you've settled in to where you can settle in, come up onto your fingerprints like this. And imagine that you are lifting something like this. Lifting a jar, and that kind of action in the palm of your hand. I realized I didn't light my candle. Nice little morning practice for me. And we'll take a few breaths here as you press down through your fingerprints, pull up through the center of each of the palms, and with that action, lift your armpits up now in a way that doesn't have them turning out to the side. So elbows don't turn out, elbows lift up, or elbows just come in line with the whole arm. This is to get you off your hands a little bit and to create action. So you're drawing your fingers towards each other, armpits are lifting. Be mindful that you're not just dropping your head down and disconnecting the top of the spine with the rest of the spine. And then see if there's room to even pull your fingers towards you, not actually letting them move, but just that action to get your chest now to move forward and down towards the floor. So length through the sides of the body, through the front of the body, deepening through the hip creases. If it's too much, you can always come out, but you can always look to see, is there another way to do this? How can I honor what my body needs at this moment? Okay, then use your fingertips this time. Pull them towards you and pull yourself up. Great to strengthen your fingers. Place your hands back down. Knees back in line with each other. And now extend your right leg back behind you, tucking your toes under. We'll take a calf stretch first. Press back to the heel. I have my other toes tucked under, but you can do what you like with the left foot. As I press back, I want to try to keep my spine still relatively neutral. I'm still pressing down and forward with my hands in opposition to what I'm doing with the back leg. Then instead of pushing back, so we get the calf stretch when we push back. Instead of pushing back, now I'd like you to try to pull your right foot forward, like you're trying to pull the back of the mat forward, bringing your right hip in line with your left hip. And a little bit of a sense of toning in the low belly, but also a toning through the front of the right thigh. Also toning in the buttocks. I want you to feel your right buttocks activated here. Now keep that and slowly lift your leg away from the floor. Bring it up to about hip height or maybe even slightly lower, but we're not going to go higher. We want to keep the spine neutral here. And then start to, if you can look at my pelvis, I'm keeping my pelvis level, but I'm turning my right leg out towards the right and then back into the center. I can even turn it inward. Starting to activate external rotator muscles of the hip. So when one of them is the piriformis, which is that one that can contribute to sciatic pain because of where the sciatic nerve goes. So if you can, keep your head in line with your spine. Yeah, that's great, Jessica. Yeah, so go slow and mindful. You know, this is a loving massage that you're giving your hip right now. If something feels like it's painful, you can stop or change it. Like you have that ability. If it feels like you need a rest from your hand, being on your hands, then take a rest. Or if you feel like I could add another action and that would be more helpful to my hands. Okay, one more time. I'm going to add on. Legs still back and behind you. I'm going to release the low back a little bit by bringing the right leg forward. And you can round just like you did. This time, let your head and shoulders come towards your knee. And then take it right back out again. Once you've taken your leg out to the side, externally rotate it out to the side. Rotate it back in, and then bring it forward again. I'll give you a break off your hands between sides. But if you need a break at any time, make sure you take it. And sometimes these slower movements are really ideal for supporting, using muscles that might not get moved otherwise. You know, we're good at fast movements, and that fast movements are valuable, but sometimes these slower, methodical movements help to engage muscles that wouldn't and give you more awareness. One last time, wherever you happen to be. And then we'll bring the leg back down. Come back into, we're going to set up for child's pose again with the knees wide, big toes together, support how you need to. Keeping the front of the body long, start to shift back. So you look forward as you go back so the front body stays long. And then once you get where you get, and you can always put more padding underneath here, walk your hands. So you can see I'm kind of in a lifted pose. I'm not down here in child's pose. I'm kind of more lifted. I can kind of call it the Sphinx, but it's not really Sphinx. And then walk your hands over towards the right, not letting your hips go. So I want my hips to stay where they are. I want to do lateral bends through the spine. And wherever you get, you get. So my hands are now in line with my shoulders as they were here. I've just really moved it, turned it over here. And I'm going to have a tendency to maybe lift up and get light in my left hip. I got to knock that down. So then you can start to walk or slide your fingers forward. Left hand can go a little further forward. You can play a little bit with this. As my left hand goes forward, I need to anchor back with my left hip. So we start to open up through the side of the body. You know, this is an area, the low back along the sides, you know, tends to be a little bit tighter, can be, doesn't have a chance to get opened up. And notice what it feels like on this side, and we'll compare it to the other side. So, you know, you don't have your weight fully resting in your hands. You can even come up onto your fingertips again. And then again, notice where your breath is going, where it's not going. I have to remember I only have an hour. Hopefully everything you're doing is valuable in some way. Okay, one more breath here. We got to give ourselves the time for the body to respond to this. And then come back up. Pause in the center for a moment. Notice the difference between the left side and the right side. For me, it's a huge difference, just that little bit that I did. And then we'll go to the other side. Be where you need to be or adjust. If you can't be in child's pose, you can always do this on a chair. You can just 2 chairs. Let me see if I can figure out how to do it. You'd probably stand over here and walk your hands this way. So I'm standing off center from my chair. So I would be over here, bending, and then walking over here. That was a modification on the fly. So we see what's happening on this side. I never want you to think that every pose we do is an all or nothing. Like either you do it this way or you don't do it. Like find a way for your body to not be in pain for, I'm telling you, we're opening up to the side of the body. So how can you find that for your body? That's the love and respect you deserve. Your body deserves because it carries you around. It's your home that you live in. So right hip has to act a little bit more like an anchor here. It pulls back. Just another couple of breaths. Feel free to come out of it sooner or stay in it a little bit longer. And then we'll walk back into the center. And now bring your legs together. I know it's a lot in child's pose, so if you need to open up your knees, you can. Knees together, now we'll release through the low back. Hold on to the sides of the mat. You can always, if you have a chair nearby, here's a great seated child's pose. You can go this way. So it's the low back releasing we want. We don't want pain in the knees. So a pain in the knees pose. Or a pain in the back. Actually, this works really well too. I can use my mat to pull forward. If you can't quite get there, you can put a bolster here or a blanket here to roll over. So this is now the idea that the legs are not apart. We've got a little bit more lengthening evenly through the muscles of the low back and the buttocks. It gets you off your hands a little bit. You can have your hands back by your feet. Whatever way it's going to work for you to feel that. I'm looking for you to direct the energy into lengthening through the low back and back of the buttocks. And notice where your breath is going. This stuff takes some time. It takes time for us to put tension in. We gotta take some time to take tension out. Slowly lift yourself up if you're ready. Back into table. We gotta do the other side. Left leg goes back. First we do the stretch through the calf, so press back through the heel. If you're feeling pain or extreme pressure or any pressure behind the knee at all, because you're trying to get that action by pushing the knee towards the ceiling. Instead, find the action of pushing back through your heel, and your knee a little bit soft. It's almost as if you're trying to move your knee towards the floor, but you can't quite bend it. If you kind of put that energy into it, you might feel that. And then we do the opposite. Instead of pushing back, try pulling your leg forward. It's like you're drawing in your hip towards your body. It's plugging in. And in that plugging in, I feel in tone of my hips, my thigh, and my buttocks right back here. So then I can lift this up while keeping the tone in my low belly. Then we'll do a little external rotation and then turn it back in, internal rotation. Notice if there's pain. What exactly are you feeling here? Is it just challenge or is it pain? You want to stay away from something that feels like pain but notice how you respond or how you react to something that feels like it's a challenge. Maybe it's the muscles that are weak, that need to be stronger. You know, that's love and respect, for sure. You know, giving yourself a challenge. Love and respect is not always offering the easiest thing. Sometimes it's a harder thing. Okay, then back into the center, and we'll add in, bringing the knee in, pushing down and forward with your hands rounding, and then extending back, externally rotating. So we're keeping the belly toned as we do this, you know, a really important piece for the low back. I will get to some more of that in a moment. External. See if you can move your leg without moving your hip. That's in the extended position, this part. A lot of muscles back there. The six deep external rotators. We'll do one more. I gotta peek and see how Dean's doing once in a while. Gotta see how you're doing. Okay, last one. Okay, then come back down. If you still have it in you for one more moment or two on your hands, press down and forward right into your fingertips. Get your knees to lift up. If you don't, I'm going to suggest you come a little bit higher and come into a forward bend. But if you can be in a downward dog, lift your heels and your sit bones as if there's a string between them. Then keep your sit bones lifting and start to lower and lengthen that string. Lower your heels away from your sit bones. Not necessarily straightening your legs, but moving them in the direction of length for the spine. Then right foot forward. Bring your left knee down. Cushion it if you need to. You can bring in a block or a chair here. Come as high as you need to. Bring your right hand on your right thigh. You can keep your back knee down to start. I'm not even going to go up on my fingertips on my left hand. Press down into your leg and lift up and start to rotate towards the right. Turn, pivoting on your right heel, turn your foot out, still lining your knee with your ankle, and let your leg drop out to the side a little bit. Yeah, you got it. You can also lift up. So that external rotation we were just doing, now we're opening it up, lengthening it. I hope nobody heard that. Exhale, come back down. Twisting, sometimes it does that. I won't tell you what you just did. Change legs, you can go back to downward dog if you like, or you can simply bring your left foot forward. Wherever it gets, and you help it forward. Walk it off to the side a little bit. Press down and lift up, right hand on your left thigh. Fingertips or hand or block. And then as you push down and lift up your left foot and rotate it out. So you're not just turning your foot, you're turning from your hip. Your whole leg rotates outward and leans out. Then you can lift up if you feel secure, if you feel stable here. Spine is long. You can lean back a little bit more in the back of your head and your upper back. Yeah. Oh, hi, Shar. I saw your cat run by. And then come back down. Okay, off of the hands. Let's do this. Let's lay on the back now. Lay on your back and draw your legs in towards you. Not to say that we won't. We might still come back. I don't know. We still have a half an hour. Lay on your back. In the constructive rest pose, so your legs are not close to necessarily your feet. They're in a position where you can feel soft and releasing through the hip flexors. so that you can have more of a neutral curve in your low back. We'll start with that. And then take a few breaths here. Close your eyes if you like. Again, a really nice, so if table pose was a really great pose for your spine, so it wouldn't have any compression, this is another great one. So if you're having any pain in your back at all for any reason, lie on the ground like this with your hands on your body somewhere, feeling your body breathing. Uh-oh. Nope, someone is trying to call me. And I'm back. Okay. Then slowly keep your left leg where it is. Bring your right leg in towards you and interlace your hands around the front of your shin. If that's a problem for your knee, Karen, you might want to go behind. But see what it feels like. I'm looking for you to feel, not like you're trying to pull your leg towards you, but you're using the interlace of your hands to keep your hands connected and using the weight of your arms to rest into this. I'd also like you to look to see where your right knee is pointing and bring it more so it points towards your right shoulder. We'll take a few breaths here. Notice if your whole low back is pressed into the floor, and I didn't say not to, but you can allow it and notice what happens there. And then slowly slide out your left leg. Bring your pelvis more balanced. So you might need to push your shin away from you a little bit into your hands. So balanced meaning your low back is not pressing into the floor anymore. Now you're balancing on the back of the pelvis. So I need to push my knee away from me a little bit more to get that to happen. I still want to aim it towards my right shoulder. And I forgot to say you'll need your strap. So you feel free to go grab your strap if it's close by. If it's not, get up and bring it back. We'll stay here for another moment or two. So two ways of doing this next pose, with the strap or without. You're going to bring your knee out to the side and hold on to your ankle or your foot or use your strap here. I'm going to hold on to the outside of my foot because I can reach that. The outside of my foot, and I'm pulling the outside of my foot towards me, and I'm going to draw my right knee down towards the floor a little bit. I want to open up through the adductor muscles on the inner thigh and add a little bit of resistance. Instead of letting my whole body rock completely over to the right, I want to anchor down through the left hip a little bit more. We'll take a few breaths here. Left leg is strong and straight. It's like that leg that you had in the air when you were doing the table pose. This is not the most intense feeling or stretch. This is you staying where you need to be and feeling it, giving yourself an opportunity to release here. Then take your strap, if you don't have it already, put it around the very back of your heel, cross at your ankle. So I'm going to wrap my hands into the strap, and you can see if I'm on my ankle, I can relax my foot. I don't have to push my foot up, or I don't have to pull it down. I just want to relax the angle of the ankle and not worry about what's happening with my calf. But what I do want to do, again, is aim my right knee towards my right shoulder, and then very slowly start to pull in towards me, and then push away. So I'm easing into this, drawing it in, staying balanced mostly, if I can, on the back of my pelvis. If you are more open in your hamstrings, you might have more of a straighter leg. Bringing it in this way. In, and then releasing it away. So be wherever you need to be. Let the action come from the hip joint more than from the knee joint. So here's the hip moving in a bent position. Here's me moving my knee. So I want more, keep this steady unless you're moving it more towards straight. Or here. Drawing it in, releasing. Low back, more neutral. So the left leg becomes the anchor. And we'll do one more and hold it wherever you get. Keep aiming your right knee towards your right shoulder so that you can aim a little bit more the target through the outer hamstrings, the outer side. And I don't mean to turn your knee in. You still want your foot to be in alignment with your knee. Then take both sides of the strap into your left hand. I'm going to turn around so you can see what I'm doing here. You know, releasing the hips has a lot to do with what's going on in the back. So I'm wrapping my hand in here. It could be this way with a bent knee. I'm going to put my left hand right here beside my buttocks. So it's going to keep me honest, because if I tip over here, my hand and my buttocks move away from each other. I want to keep them connected by having my hand touching there, and start to bring your leg across the body. It can be straight. It's not very far. We're not looking to roll over to the side. We are looking to get into a little bit more through the outer hip, maybe down to the outer side of the leg, lengthening the outer line of the leg. I know it's challenging to not let that hip come up. So, okay, what I'm seeing here, come back for a second. When you're in this position, this is where your hand goes. Then when you go over, I'm moving from the hip joint, not twisting like this. So let's take just another few more moments. Bringing it across without moving the hips. It's possible. You might not think it is, but it is.
Beth, are we pushing into the strap with our heel?
Sure, yep, because you're always going to need some leverage. So that question was, are we pushing into the strap with the heel? So yeah, you're pushing out and pushing down through the hip. And let's come back. We have two sides, thankfully, so we can do on the second side. Keep your leg lifted and move it towards wherever straight is for you, and the spine neutral. So again, I'm going to say, like, not having your low back pressing into the floor. It's kind of a fine balance. I want my back rib cage to be moving towards the floor, but I don't want my low back to be moving towards the floor. So this alone is going to be a great strengthener for the hip joint. But also then we start to lower it down, and we start to elongate the psoas muscle, the main hip flexor, under the weight of the leg. So we just take our time, moving it down. And you can see, maybe see, I'm not quite there yet. That's how slowly I invite you to move it. And the other leg is working to stabilize. Core muscles are working to stabilize. And then land your leg, and then notice the difference between the right leg that you did and the left leg that you didn't do. They both were doing things, but different things. There's definite differences between them for mine. And then let's go to the second side. So the first thing we did was we anchored the right leg and interlaced hands around the shin or the back of the knee. These are not the wild and wonderful poses that we do on Thursday. These are the more functional. Let's get down to business, and let's be loving to the body. Let's be supportive of what we need, and not just today, because this is the theme today, but every day. You know, can you be loving and respectful and supportive for your body every day? Then we go into the half happy baby, and it can be done with the strap. So we go from here. If you're going to do half happy baby and you can reach your foot, you're going along the inside to hold the outside. You can also do your big toe here too. And then at first, let your knee drop out to the side and down towards the floor. Then you can start to open up the knee joint a little bit, you know, again, depending on your body. Then do you have leverage now to try to bring the right hip back, or do you need to come back and then pull the right hip down as you pull the left knee out to the side? So releasing through the inner thigh, the adductors of the left thigh. You know, sometimes the adductors need the release more than the hamstrings. Those are the ones that might be tighter on some people who have always thought their hamstrings are tight. So see, if that's you, see what it feels like to spend more time releasing through the inner thighs, and then see if it makes a difference for your hamstrings, for your forward bends, for your life. I heard that too. I think Dean's releasing a lot of stuff today. Okay, so now we'll let go and take the strap. It goes around, strap or scarf or whatever you have. It goes around the very back of the heel. I'm showing you specifically where it might feel like, oh, I can't do that. And a lot of people tend to put it in the arch of the foot. Can you see the difference between that? You slide it back like you're giving it a little towel off. And then right at the very back, then it's going to give you that power to push. Cross in front of the ankle, knees bent, pointing towards the shoulder, but the shoulder, the knee and the ankle still are in line. So I'm not doing like what I just did with my knee out and my heel in. I'm out here towards the outside of the body. It's a different experience for sure. Then, wherever you want to hold, sometimes I like to hold down here. Then you start to move the leg away from you and then towards you. So wherever it happens to be for you, it's less about the knee movement, more about what's happening in the hip, although the knee will add a little bit. So you can kind of go every once in a while, oh, okay, maybe I'm going to go here now, and then away and towards. And notice when you're bringing it towards you, that's when you start to feel the stretch through the hamstrings. So we want to find the place and kind of just touch on it and then move away. Your right leg is active, and if it's not helping you to keep your pelvis stable, then go ahead and rebend your right leg. Stable meaning balancing in the center of the pelvis. A lot of this stuff comes from one of my teachers, Doug Keller. Notice where your leg might be reacting. And then one more time and hold wherever you can hold, where you are able to feel the sensation of stretch, but it's not as the most intense experience. Foot's relaxed, so we take away the worry of what's going on in the calf. We don't shorten or lengthen the calf, we just let it be. So we can move more of the sensation right into here, into the middle. You can even come over with your hands and dig in there and massage while you're doing this. It does like that too. Then wherever it happens to be, take the strap off, straighten your leg, anchor through your right. So this is where the core turns on a little bit more, but also the hip flexors, primarily the psoas, as you lower your left leg down. Take your time, lots of time here. Strengthening and lengthening. You don't need to go buy weights to do this, you have the weight of your leg. Pardon?
Did you forget the half happy baby on that side, pulling down before we straightened?
No, we did it.
With her?
Didn't we do the half happy baby, everybody? Oh, we didn't do a cross, is what you're saying. Is that what you're saying? We did the half happy baby. But what we didn't do, come back up here, sorry. Thank you for telling me. Oh, it's at the heel, cross here. Okay, so this was the one where you bring your hand right to your buttocks. So in this position, wherever you happen to be, that's where your hand is. You're not lifting your hip to slide your hand under. It's right to your hip. Then, wherever you happen to be, start to draw your leg across your body. It's not a big movement, but don't let your leg move away from your hand. This is everybody's favorite. Thank you for reminding me. I watched a really great video, too, on the weekend by Gil Headley. Some of you know him. He's the one who talks about the fuzz, which is the fascia, what happens in to the fascia overnight. And this one, he was talking about, he can't understand why people are torturing themselves with rolling their IT bands, because the IT band is meant to be supportive. What we want to do is be softer, more gentler, more respect for the muscles and the fascia underneath the IT band. So when we roll the IT band, we end up with inflammation. But he says when we're kinder with it, the work that Jill Miller is doing is great, he believes. So no more rolling the IT band in my classes like we've been doing in the past. Okay, bring it back now. Now we lower it down. It makes a lot of sense. If anyone would like a copy of that or the link to that video, he is showing a cadaver, so just be mindful, aware of that. But it is interesting to hear how he talks about it. He's well respected in the world of science and anatomy, and particularly fascia. Reaching, lengthening, taking your time. But everything we do, if we could just spend that kind of time to really be devoted to our overall sense of health and well-being, then we're not going to do extreme things that might cause pain or inflammation or pain in other ways. So just lie here just for a moment and notice. Notice one side, notice the other side. I feel like I'm on a downward slope. I think it's partly the floor here. But I also think it's the work. Then bend your legs. Again, looking for that neutral alignment to the back of the body. You are resting on the back of the pelvis. And you can kind of tip forward and back just a little bit, releasing, massaging. So we're doing these pelvic rolls forward and back. Like the bowl of the pelvis is tipping forward. You can kind of see, I hope you can see on my body. I'm tipping it this way and I'm tipping it this way. So if by exploring those directions, then we can find where's the middle, where's not necessarily the middle, but where's the optimal place between the two that allows me to have a curve, an inward curve in my low back. So an inward curve meaning from the floor inward towards my body. And also balancing, keeping my upper back neutral too. So not overly arching, but not flattening either. So we got to find that fine balance. For me, I have a focus of keeping my back ribs towards the floor, and right away I can feel my tone engaging in my abdomen. So then legs are going to be not the constructive rest pose here, but a little bit closer. And then lift up your right leg and lengthen it out along the floor. So it's not going to rest on the floor. It's going to hover just above the floor. Again, notice, have you tipped more to the right? Can you bring yourself back into balance? Because now we're going to ask the oblique muscles as well. The core muscles, the diaphragm, the pelvic floor, the multifidus at the back, and the transversus abdominis, but also the oblique muscles that help you rotate, but also stabilize. So stabilize by staying balanced on the center of the pelvis and slowly start to lift up your right leg. We're only going to lift it up as high as the other knee, so knees find each other. They reunite. And then slowly lower back down. Let's do that 2 more times on this side. Hip flexors definitely working. And also working and elongating as you lower the leg down. And last one. And lower down. So let your right leg go heavy. Now bring your left leg up like you're sitting in a chair. So this would be easy if we stayed right here. Take your arms out so you have a little bit more support through the shoulder blades and the arms. And you know what I'm going to ask you to do? Can you figure it out yet? It's the same movement as before, lifting up the right leg, but with this added challenge here. So now look to see what would happen if you start to lift your right leg. Where does the work go? And we want to stay neutral through the spine. Start to lift your right leg and just hover it for a moment. How much is your back doing the work? How much is the front doing the work? Balance the muscles, and then we'll slowly lift up. If it feels like it's too much with a straight leg, you can always do a bent leg. Lifting and lowering. This would be the bent leg. Yeah, the other one was easy, wasn't it? Neutral. One last one. Couldn't make it core and back without doing this. Okay, land it again. I'm going to give you one more option. You can go back to what you just did, go back to the first one, or start to lift your left leg up. It doesn't have to be fully straight, but it could be. And here we go, same exercise. Neutral, hover your right leg. Slowly lift your right leg up and down. Again, change it so that it is working for you. You are not doing the most intense thing. Remember the rolling of the IT band. Sure, we could do it and go, wow, that was hard and I did it. But at what cost? Don't want you not being able to walk around. And I don't even need to see you because I know you're adjusting as you go on this one. Last one. And then slowly lower both legs down. Let your legs roll away from the center. Good thing we have two sides. And just this centering, this coming back to a place in the middle and noticing, oh my goodness, this is so great to do on a regular basis, not just in a yoga practice, but in your life. Like checking in to see, how do I feel right now? So let's come back into the legs bent position. Now you know. There's advantages and disadvantages of knowing what you're doing. Wait, what? So neutral spine, leg reaches out on the left and hovers. So find where the floor is. And it's tempting to let the back of your calf hit on the floor and heel off the floor, but I want you to find a sense of evenness under the whole leg. That means the quadriceps engaged. If you're doing the opposite, I don't know if you can see my knee, it's a hyperextension kind of a thing, and I can touch my calf, but not my heel. But what I want to do is lift up and firm my thigh. The top side muscle, quadriceps, is also a hip flexor. So we've got hip flexors, we've got core, we've got low back. Okay, slowly start to lift it up. Keeping the strength in that leg, the firmness of the thigh. Just knee to knee. And lower back down. At the pace that works for you. If you go too fast, you're not going to get the muscles that we need to get. If you go too slow, it might be agonizingly boring. Although I don't like to use that word. It might be so not fun. I'm noticing I'm a little bit I'm not as strong on this side. Okay, one last one. Then land it down. Can you lift up and sit in a chair with your right leg, still keeping your pelvis balanced? You can always go back to the first one. Arms go out if you haven't got them there, so you've got the support through the shoulder blades too. And I can feel as soon as I press my shoulder blades down, I can start to feel a little bit more toning through my core muscles, through my abdomen. Then, what would it take to lift your left leg off the floor? Where's that action coming from? And then slowly start to move it. Maintaining that alignment through the spine as you go. You know, here's an option. Tap your toe, bring it back up, bent leg. Are your hip flexors doing more work than any other part of the body? Hip flexors, you're going to probably feel that in the front of the hip crease. It's not an all or nothing. There are always stages. I realize I just keep staring up into the spotlight above me, and then when I look down, I can't see anything but spots. Okay, let's rest from that. With an option of this leg up for the last set. If you're feeling a lot of that sensation in the right hip, when I feel something like that, I go, okay, what can I do to change it? I'm going to keep anchored through the back of my pelvis on the right side, but I want to also reach up and reach out through the left foot. Maybe it's more bent. There's no question that your hip flexors are doing a lot of the work here. Last one. And then lower down. Slowly lower down. Lengthening, reaching as you're lowering down, taking your time. Create, that's the goal here, is that lengthening and an eccentric contraction. So as the leg has to control, the hip flexor has to control the weight of the leg going down. And then let your legs roll away. So this is where I would like you to take either a block or a rolled up blanket or something. I'll show a rolled up blanket because not everybody has a block. I'm going to elevate the pelvis to give a little bit of a release. So maybe I'm not even going to roll it up. I'm going to fold it and then fold it again. So it's kind of like, by the time I sit on that, it's about the same height. So block or blanket. There we go. Maintaining the same kind of actions in the back body, in the core muscles. Stretch your legs out one at a time. So we open up through the front of the pelvis. We don't want to feel compression in the low back, so we got to figure out where do I need to position my pelvis to get the stretch through the front of the hips, but also not compress my low back. What's happening with your low back ribs? For me, I need to drop them towards the floor, but if I drop them too much, I jam in a different part of my low back. I also want to create long, strong, straight legs reaching out, if I can, through the inner edges of the feet going longer, inner thighs from the inner groins down through the whole leg. You can also add taking your arms overhead and see if that changes the shape of the body at all. Still working with the core muscles, but now releasing through the front of the hips for what we just did. It's a mostly low to the ground class today. No flying pigeons or anything today. No standing poses. But that often means next week it will be more. Don't hold me to it though. Okay, then let's release. If you feel you need to be here longer, stay longer. Otherwise, lift. Once you bring your feet to the floor, take your blanket or your block out, but keep your hips lifted. And let's just spend a little bit of time rolling down. So roll from the top of the spine towards the bottom of the spine. I'm just going to take my time. I think I've said this before, over 140 joints in the spine. A lot of ways to move. So I'm still lowering. If you're down, lift again. I'm going to be here for a little while. And then once you do land, find neutral again. Then take your arms out to the sides. Bring your feet a little bit closer together. Lift up your right leg and cross it over your left at the knees. Keeping your arms out to the sides and your shoulder blades on the floor. We're going to do a little rotation through the low back, just a little stretch for the low back. Start to let your legs drop over towards the left. I like to let my right foot touch the floor, and then it kind of gives me that's my position. And then I let the weight of my legs hold my legs there. So they're dropping towards the floor this way. I keep my right shoulder blade down, and I wiggle and I move a little bit until I feel that release through the outer right buttock and the low part of my low back. So it's not a big twist. It's a small twist. It's a lengthening through the sides of the waist. I'll come and peek at everybody. Yeah, looks good. For those of you I can see, looks good. Nice, Christopher. And as you hold this a little bit longer, you may find your body starts to respond. If it's reacting, make sure you change something. Maybe it's just your positioning of your feet. Maybe it's a little bit of an extra action of lengthening through the right side body. And then within the next breath or two, start to make your way back to the center. Unwind your legs, stretch out for a moment. And then we'll go again to the second side. So you bend your legs, cross your left. Shoulder blades on the floor. Let gravity take your legs, your crossed legs over to the right. This time your pelvis does move, your hip does lift, your left hip lifts off. And if you find your feet don't come to the floor, but it's almost too far, put a block or something or a blanket underneath your foot. I'm just really lightly touching the ground with my right big toe. I'm not doing a lot of work here. I'm resisting a little bit with my right shoulder or my left. I'm not doing a lot. It's just a little bit. And I'm really just focusing on letting my breath give me that opening and adjusting, micro movements, tiny little movements that, that's where I need it. Keeping length through the right or the left side of the body. So I'm taking my left hip and I'm rolling it away this way too. A little bit of that action. As the body responds, the pose might change. And that's kind of the idea. The fascia starts to slide, and where you might have had adhesions in the fascia, it starts to line up with the movement that you've been doing and starts to slide again. Well, one or two more breaths here. And then you can make your way back onto your back when you're ready. Notice that your obliques engage to turn you back. Get that little bit of a massage on the buttock too as you come back, if you go slowly enough. And then we'll unwind. A check-in before Shavasana. So a Shavasana before Shavasana to see, do I need to do anything else? What do I feel? So for those of you with neck or shoulder issues, this last little bit has been allowing the neck and the shoulders to be supported and rest. So how do they feel? You need to do something for that. And then if there's another pose that you want to do before Shavasana, we did a lot of this, but maybe you need that. You can decide, what is it that you need, if anything? Maybe you want your legs up on your chair for Shavasana. Oops, got crooked there. And then make your way into whatever pose of comfort you might need. Do you want some support, blankets, or if you have a bolster, legs up on a chair? I love seeing people traveling to where they want to go and rest. If the point today was to love, honor, and respect your body, and particularly your low back and core, did you do that today? This is a great place to kind of check in Shavasana, the beginning of Shavasana, and go, did I do that? Look at everybody tucking themselves in. And if I don't feel like I served that part of me, why not? You can blame it on me if you want. You didn't do the right things. No, I have a sense in my body right now that I feel like I've moved muscles, I've moved fascia, I've strengthened, and I've released. This is also why it's so important to get on your mat sometimes without me, without a teacher. Because if at this point you may not want your practice to be done, you may go, you know what, there's a couple more things I need to do for my body. So as you settle, tune back into your breath. If you lost that connection, if you kept it, awesome. If not, don't worry. It's an ongoing process of checking in. Like you check in with your mother and your kids check in with you. I'm going to tie it back to Mother's Day. Or your dad. Or your brothers or sisters or whoever else is in your family or your friend circle. We do that for others, but do we do that for ourselves? Oh, I like that, Jacqueline. Giving herself a hug. A well-deserved hug, no doubt. Hear the sound of my voice. And if it feels loving and respectful, feel free to come and sit up, take your time. But if it feels better to stay where you are in the comfort of your home, resting longer, go for it. do feel the more time we spend in restorative poses, the more clarity we'll have. It's a really loving way to support yourself, especially when things seem so unclear about what the future is going to hold for us. So take your time. If you're sitting, if you're still lying down, you can just bring your awareness to the center of your body, behind your breastbone. If you're sitting, you can bring your palms together in front of your heart. Let every day be a day of love and respect for all, and let it start with you. Love and respect yourself, and then you'll have an abundance to offer others. Thank you. Namaste.